It's Q&A day. What do you say? It's Q&A day. Q&A day. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mike DiLisio here with the third of 4 days on our fantastic Q&A day. That is coming on the heels of our summer space. Be prepared for that, shall we? I do know, please understand that we here at the Dice Tower have been very, very appreciative of the live chat community. We've had a fantastic group of people that come into our live chats and interact and ask questions and get silly and all this type of stuff. So I took a quick lick. No, I didn't do that. I did not do that. I took a quick look. I did do that. I took a quick look at the live chat a while ago, and I saw that there were a number of questions that are not of a serious nature that were already up there. So I'm going to have my work ahead of me to try to filter through here and get to these questions, but get through them I will. And so I'm not going to go all the way back to the beginning because many of them were variations on a theme that I refuse to acknowledge. But let's go back to, here we go. Uh-oh. Bonnie Cruz says frozen. I hope that's not the case. No, everything's okay because I saw someone make a point of something I said earlier. Okay, so here we go. First question. Sean, what sort of stuff did you do with your time off since last Friday? Well, I wish I could say that it was a lot of exciting stuff, but it was not, because this was a time that I chose to get some appointments taken care of. I went to the dentist not once, but twice. Yes, lucky me, twice at the dentist. The first time was just to go and get a cleaning and get kind of an initial consultation with this dentist. I had not had one here in South Florida that I had kind of made any connections with, so I got in touch with a local dentist and saw them, and they said, hey, you've got a broken tooth. At which point I said, fantastic. And they said that they would need a follow-up to fix that tooth, and they were able to get me in yesterday. So I actually got my tooth fixed yesterday. That was fantastic. Did that, a couple of other kind of appointment type things, but I have relaxed. That was very nice, but nothing terribly exciting, Sean. We, being my wife and myself, are going to go and have a nice meal out tomorrow. That's kind of like the culmination of my birthday celebration. We've already gone out at least once, but she's being very kind and taking me out for another meal. David M. Hey, Mike, thanks for the Thunderbird suggestion earlier. I'll see if I can find it. Any other games you suggest for a huge Pandemic fan? I'm a little bit disappointed that it's hard to get a hold of Thunderbirds now, because for a long time it was actually pretty easy to get a hold of, and it was relatively inexpensive, at least the base game. I know some of the expansions were always a little limited in quantity, and therefore they kicked up the price on those. But for a long time, that was actually pretty inexpensive. So for a big Pandemic fan, it depends on, I guess, the weight of the game. Pandemic is kind of like, I don't know, I look at it as almost a specific genre of co-op games where, you know, bad stuff happens, you have to take your turn to try to mitigate it, flip over a card, roll a die, something along those lines, more bad stuff happens. If you want something lighter and you have not played it yet, Horrified, I think, is a really good co-op game with a little bit of pick up and deliver mechanics as well. If you want to go heavier, although it doesn't feel like Pandemic very much, Spirit Island is another one I like a whole lot. That's quite a bit heavier, I think, than Pandemic. Yeah, those are the ones that are jumping to the top of my brain there, David. Let's see, yeah. Vanessa, happy belated birthday. Thank you very much. How does it feel to be a half-century old? I've been going back and forth on this. There was a little part of me that was actually a little bit taken aback by how much it was affecting me. I think I, like many people, tend to deflect by joking, and so I was obviously leaning into the old jokes, as I often do, because it's funny. It's an easy thing to kind of poke fun at yourself about. But I really was a bit taken aback when I stopped to think about how I've always looked at 50-year-olds my whole life. I've always looked at them as quite old, and now I'm there. And so I have to kind of reconcile that with myself, I suppose, and just acknowledge that I am now of an age that I used to think of other people at this age as being quite ancient and having very little patience for. That's been probably not one of my best character traits. I may have mentioned this before, so I won't belabor it, but when I was younger especially, I probably was not the most patient with people that were a bit older than myself, and so now maybe karma is going to come and bite me in an unpleasant location. Bonnie Crew, hi. That was an awkward hi, Bonnie. I was getting ready to start the question. I thought it started with how. I saw that it didn't start with how, and I thought, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shift on the fly that how to a hi. That worked out quite well, I thought. Do you already know what tattoo you will get for the last Kickstarter fulfillment? I do indeed. It's going to be one of my dice guys, and it was something that I think Roy probably mentioned this on one of his Q&As, not today's, but an earlier one. This is something that he and I had been talking about for quite a while, about getting our dice guys tattooed. And then when Tom, to much of my surprise, agreed to be a part of it, that just kind of became, hey, we're going to make this part of a Kickstarter fulfillment as a stretch goal. And I'm very excited that we reached it, and I'm very excited to get the tattoo done. I know that Roy has been doing some scoping of locations that that he thinks might be good, for lack of a better word. And I always am going to defer to Roy because he's had a lot more tattoos than I have. And so I'm going to put my trust in his hands. Well, mainly in the tattoo artist's hands, but also in Roy's hands. TM asks, it's late at night and you want to play a game. Who from the Dice Tower will play with you? Now, I have to first go on record and say that this premise is one that is somewhat flawed in that getting back to that old man thing, I don't stay up as late as I used to. I used to be more of a night owl. I used to, get to bed probably usually around midnight to 1 o'clock. Now that's not the case. And my brain becomes quite fatigued long before the witching hour. And so playing a game is usually not in my best interest. But let's just roll with this premise. And if I was up late at night and wanting to play a game, I got to tell you, I think probably I'm going to go with Chris Yee. I'm going to go with Chris. I think Chris stays up extraordinarily late. I'm not sure that Chris actually sleeps. I believe that he is basically a 24-hour person. He stays awake 24 hours a day. I believe that's true, and verifiably so. Zod Tan asks, would you be doing solo reviews for Maracaibo, Cloud Age, and On Mars? Well, 2 of the 3 I have not played, either multiplayer or solo. I have not played Maracaibo or On Mars. I think I'm probably likely to play both at some point. I think Chris could probably teach me On Mars and probably would be willing to. He's a very willing and able teacher, which I appreciate about Chris. And so if I wanted to play On Mars, and I will at some point when I'm in the mood for something that heavy, I think I'll go to Chris and ask if he'd teach me. And if that's the case, once I know the game, then I would be more likely to go into the solo mode for it. I have played CO2 solo, and I've played the Gallerist solo. Those are the only 2 Lacerda games that I have played solo. I believe I've played Lisboa, but only multiplayer. Cloud Age I have played, and I have played it solo. And I don't know. I'm not sure if that's going to actually get a review as a solo game or not, because it's been covered a couple of times already, I believe, on the channel. So I don't think I'm planning to do a solo review, but just as a kind of a spoiler, I do like it. I like the game a fair bit. Colin Purcell, who are your top 3 favorite designers? I don't. Oh, this is tough. This is tough. Can I go with the top 10? That would be much easier for me. I'm going to put Knizia on there, right? Dr. Rainer Knizia. This is where it gets tough. This is where it gets really, really tough. Probably, I'll probably put Shem Phillips up there. Bruno Catala, maybe. Yeah, I'll go with those 3, although I would be much more comfortable going with a longer list. There's so many good designers out there. There we go. Veldrask asks, hey Mike, are you guys planning on playing more sessions of Oath? I definitely feel like it's one of those games that benefits from several plays. Boy, yeah, I agree with you 100% there, Veldrask. I hope to play it some more. Now, it does have a solo variant, but I don't know that I'm really going to be digging into that very much. I don't know that it's a game that suits well for solo play, although I thought that about Root, and with the Clockwork bots, those certainly became more of a solo game that I was interested in. But I think for Oath, it is a game that I definitely plan on playing more. It just really depends on if there are people around me that want to play it. So obviously at the studio, Chris and Roy and Z have all played it with me. And I don't know how interested they are in playing it again. They may be. I haven't really broached the subject much. We've talked about it a little bit, but I certainly plan on playing it more. The tricky thing is I don't really want to teach it anymore, if that makes sense. I would be very happy to play it with people that know the game. Now, this is not to say that I would never teach the game to anybody again, but I'll tell you, I would be very hesitant to teach it to people that I didn't know very well, because it is a game that I struggled to teach, and this is with people that I knew and felt comfortable with. And I think that I would get concerned. I would be very, very anxious about the other people at the table if I didn't know them well. Are they getting bored with this teach? Are they getting overwhelmed with the rules? Am I not doing a very good job of teaching the game? Am I teaching too much? Am I not teaching enough? Because certain people like to have just enough to get started and then let me learn as I'm playing. Other people want to know every single rule before the game starts. And for a game like Oath, you're talking probably 45 minutes to an hour if you want to try to teach everything before the game starts. So I guess the short answer, and I've given you the long one, is that yes, I would like to play it some more. I plan on playing it some more. I hope to play it some more. I just don't know when and with who. But I do think it's a pretty special design. James Cartwright asks, how have your board game tastes changed since you first started playing? I've thought about this a fair amount, actually, and you would think that I'd have a good answer based upon the fact that I've thought about it a fair amount, but I don't really have a good answer. I do believe that my tastes have changed a bit. I think my tastes have skewed a bit lighter. I believe that part of the job here at Dice Tower is playing lots of games, and it's a great perk of the job. I like playing new games. I'm a cult of the new gamer. I always have. I'm always looking at the next new exciting thing. But that being the case, it can be a chore sometimes to learn some of these big, heavy games. And so I think the more I've played, the more my tastes have skewed a bit lighter. I think that my party game appreciation has gone up a bit, especially since working here at the Dice Tower. I used to pretty much avoid party games. I didn't necessarily think that they were for me. But the more that I've played them here, and especially with groups of people that are really into them, I understand the appeal more than I did in the past. Maybe I just wasn't playing party games in groups of people that really liked party games, and so when they came up, they were maybe a little stilted. They maybe didn't reach their full potential. But definitely playing with this crew here and some other people that I've met through the Dice Tower, I've had some really good sessions of party games, and there have been some good party games that have come out the last couple of years as well. So I think that's a big way that my tastes have changed. Nick Markley asks, are you a color your hair and or beard guy? Nope, I am not. I am not. Now, that's not to say that I don't have vanity. I think that I do. I just think that in some ways men are lucky in that they are kind of allowed to age gracefully, if that makes sense. I feel like, if anything, I like, this sounds really arrogant. I really don't know how to say this without sounding arrogant, because it is not coming from a place of arrogance at all. I was never very happy with my appearance growing up and through my teen and young adult years. If anything, I feel like I've grown into my face a little bit. Maybe I've just gotten used to seeing myself in the mirror or on camera more. But as I've gotten older, I kind of like the gray. I just do. And so I'm not really looking to dye my hair at all. I feel like I'm happy with it. My wife seems to be fine with it, so I'm good with it. The one thing I have to admit, this isn't your question, although it's adjacent. It's hair adjacent, and if there's anything I appreciate, it's hair adjacent questions. I don't really look forward to losing much more of my hair, because I've already gone I always had fine hair, very fine hair throughout my life. But now it's fine and thinning pretty significantly. Like every so often I'll get a view of the back of my head from one of these evil cameras, these overhead cameras, when I'm reaching across the table to get something, and I realize how badly the back of my hair is thinning, and I get a jolt of feeling like I'm 3 feet under. But other than that, if I could keep my hair the way it is now, I'd be thrilled. I mean, this is fine. I can live with this. It's quite a bit thinner, and the widow's peak is gradually going to be to my neck. But other than that, I'm good. So no, I'm not planning on coloring it. David M., yes, I saw you asked this earlier. I like salty and sweet. Have I tried pretzels with ice cream? Yes, I've had pretzels with ice cream in it, but ice cream filled pretzels. Now no, I've had ice cream with pretzels in it before. It was good. It was good, but I don't know that I loved it. To me, like a really nice salty sweet combo, if you're going in that kind of direction, would be the Payday bar. Ooh, I like the Payday bar, right? Yeah, you've got your nougat, you've got your nougat base enrobed in caramel and then covered with salty peanuts. That's tasty right there. But I have had ice cream with peanuts in it before. Mikey. Afternoon, Mike. I'm about to start teaching myself how to play Outlive. Want to play in November in Orlando. I believe you're talking about the Dice Tower Retreat, one of the 2 Dice Tower retreats. I'd love to. I'm always down to play Outlive. It's one of those games that I kind of champion. I feel like it kind of went under the radar a fair bit. But man, I really enjoy that game, and I'm always down to play that. I played it not that long ago, actually, and I did recently get sent to me a copy of the expansion from a friend of mine overseas, and thank you, Flavian. And so I haven't had a chance to play that yet, which is killing me. Maybe this weekend. If I have time, maybe this weekend. I would love to play Outlive again, and I'm very much looking forward to trying out the Underwater expansion that came out a few years ago, but it was, if it was available here in the States, it probably was for a short period of time, but I never came across it, so I was very, very happy to have one sent to me. Okay, let's see. I accidentally almost banned somebody. That was not, that would have been bad. Okay. Zachary Valentine, was it really your 50th birthday? I know there were the jokes, but I never thought you were actually that old. I'm actually that old. Yes, 50. And it reminds me, there was the skit on Saturday Night Live back in the day by, what was her name? I can't remember the name of the comedian, but she used to do this thing where she was like this old entertainer, and she was like, I'm 50 years old, and she would do these big high kicks. Whereas when she was obviously not 50, she was younger, but she was like, you know, dressed and put on makeup to make herself, but I thought she made herself look like she was like 80, not 50. So hopefully 50-year-olds don't look older than I think they do. Nick Markley, do you miss anything about California? I'm beginning to want to miss all of it. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure what you mean there. Sure, there are some things I miss about California. There are certainly some things that I don't miss, but I miss the feeling of familiarity, if that makes sense. There are just places in California that when I go to visit, it's been a while since I've been back to California, but when I go there, they just evoke so many memories. And, you know, there's always going to be those places in your life where you go there, and even if things have changed, you just have such a history with it that it just evokes these memories. And many of those for me are in California because that's where I grew up and lived throughout high school. So I miss, I would have said I miss the weather, but here in Florida, you know, it's warm pretty much year round. In California, it's warm pretty much, at least in Southern California, where I lived most of my California years. I lived in Northern California, Santa Cruz for a little while, but mostly in Southern California, the San Fernando Valley. And so I do like the weather there. Obviously, I met some fantastic people and still know some people in California. I still have some family in California. Actually, my parents and my sister still live in California, so I miss them. Yeah, I don't know. Mostly the memories, just kind of having that feeling of familiarity of home. Oh my goodness, it's already 1:24 and I feel like I've barely gotten started. All right, let's go. Let's go. Loopy asks, Mike, do you watch other content creators? If so, who do you like? Well, sure, I sure do. If you mean watch, you said watch, so I'm assuming you mean watch. I mean, I've watched probably you know, all of the biggies over the years. But now I have, you know, probably a little bit less time to do that because, you know, I'm focused on our channel. But I like, boy, when I think content creators, it's funny. Right now I think podcasts because I have a lot of friends in the podcast world. And so I enjoy kind of watching their stuff. But I could tell you that some formative content creators that I watched even before I got into it, I really enjoyed watching Ricky Royal playthroughs. He did solo playthroughs, and so those were very, very enjoyable to me. I liked watching those a lot. I used to like watching the drive-through reviews, Joel Eddy, and kind of some of the old school ones a little bit. nowadays I just have an appreciation, especially doing this now, the technical end of it, which I'm still very, very, very much have a lot to learn, and the weakest, I would say, of anyone here at the Dice Tower, but I'm trying. I have a great appreciation for the content creators that can produce something that looks and sounds good. It's so hard to do. It really is. It's challenging, and so I have an appreciation for people out there that can make it happen. Oh no, these are still talking about the dentist. I'm so far behind. I'll try to go a little bit more quickly. Amelia, have you played Ares Expedition solo yet? If so, what did you think? I have. I liked it. I liked it a fair bit. It's very similar to playing Terraforming Mars solo, as you might expect, in that you have a certain kind of timer. You're going against a timer, and you're trying to terraform Mars before the timer runs out, and I found it pretty challenging. I have not been able to beat it solo yet, but I do think that a couple more plays in, and I probably will be able to, and then there are ways to adjust the difficulty there if you start finding it easier. But I think I've said on the review, the Foursquare review for Ares Expedition, that for me personally, I understand that, you know, this is not going to be the case for everybody. This is going to be the Terraforming Mars experience that I'm going to be going to more often than not. I feel like it gives me what I most like about Terraforming Mars in a shorter package, quicker package, and so I like it, and I'm going to continue to play it solo, I think. Neutral Gnome. Will the Dice Tower bring back Snack Talk sometime in the future? Well, I will say this. This is above my pay grade. I am not in a position to make these decisions. However, I would love to get in on some Snack Talk. I was always a fan of those segments, and we do our own impromptu, you know, unfilmed Snack Talks here almost daily. There's a fair amount of snacks in the Dice Tower studios, and we all have strong opinions. Strong opinions about those snacks. So I'm all on board with bringing Snack Talk back. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm on board. Favorite restaurant in Indianapolis? Ooh, that's a tough question, Bruce. Now, let me give you a couple here. One is going to be a very kind of boring answer because it's the one that people that don't even live in Indianapolis have probably heard of. But for like an upscale restaurant, St. Elmo's is hard to beat. I am a big fan of steakhouses, and it is a wonderful local steakhouse. Now, the interesting thing is that most people bring up St. Elmo's because of the shrimp cocktail. It's this very famous shrimp cocktail. Now, I am not a fan of shrimp cocktail. Yes, berate me if you will, Z Garcia. Lover of all things shrimp, connoisseur of shrimp, shrimp czar. But I am not a fan of shrimp. I've been shamed, quite honestly, since I've come here to work at the Dice Tower for my ambivalence, my apathy towards shrimp. By everybody that works here. Tom, Z, Roy, Chris, even Kenny. They all berate me for my ambivalence to shrimp. However, I'm sure it's a fantastic cocktail if you like that sort of thing. I do like a good steak. Very good steaks. Now, on a smaller, probably more local friendly, not known outside. One of my favorite burgers of all time, it comes from a place called 317 Burger. That's named after the area code there in Indianapolis. And it's in a little, I think it's technically part of Indianapolis, but in like a little town called Broad Ripple that is on the north side of Indianapolis. And I really, really like the burgers at 317 Burger. So that would be my answer there. Now I want a 317 burger really bad. Hey Mike, how did you meet Tom and get involved with the Dice Tower? Were you already local to Florida or did you move like Chris? Not local to Florida at all. I moved here to work for the Dice Tower. I will give the very brief version of this because I know that I've talked about this before, but since you asked, I will give you the short version. I was doing solo playthroughs on my own on a little channel called Solo Mode Games back in the day, and I was a huge fan, like all of you are and was, of the Dice Tower, and so would watch Board Game Breakfast and Board Game Blender and Token Punch Lunch, and I just reached out to Tom on a kind of just an email and said, hey, I'd be interested if you would be interested in doing a segment for Board Game Breakfast based around solo reviews. He told me to send him a clip, gave me some feedback, and then basically that was it. I started just doing weekly segments for Board Game Breakfast. And then as I did that, I got to talk to Tom a little bit through that process. And where I got to know him better was at the Gen Con booth, the Dice Tower booth, and Origins, because Gen Con is Indianapolis, where I used to live, and Origins is close to Indianapolis, where I used to live, and so I worked the Dice Tower booth for a number of conventions, and got to know Tom, and got to know Z, and got to know Roy a bit, and even before he was working for Dice Tower, and so that was kind of how I got to know them a little bit, and then a very similar situation. I reached out to Tom and asked about the position that was opening in the Dice Tower, and we had discussions, and it turned into this situation. It's been a kind of a dream come true, and I've been thrilled with my time here and getting to know all the people here, and man, I was a teacher for almost 20 years, a high school teacher, before I worked at the Dice Tower. And I want to make it clear that I was not miserable as a teacher. It's a job, a career that I have a lot of respect for teachers. I know how difficult it is to be a teacher, but I was ready to move on and onto something different. I had already begun the process of looking into transitioning out of teaching. Little did I know, though, that I'd be able to transition into a situation like this, which is kind of a dream scenario. So I'm very thankful for that. I have a lot of gratitude. Bonnie, I've seen you ask this question to the others, and they ignored you. I'll go ahead and say it, Bonnie. I'll use the word. Roy, ignore. Z, ignored with hostility. I would go one further. Z, ignored you with hostility. I will not. We know Tom hates the beach. How about you and your family? I grew up in, as I've mentioned, Southern California, and there are pictures of me as a very young child, probably like less than a year old, sitting on the beach. And so a lot of my early memories are of going to the beach. It was one of the things that we were able to do because, it's one of those things that as a family, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to go to the beach. And so I have a lot of great memories of the beach. I love the ocean. I feel I don't know, it sounds very out there, but I feel kind of a connection with large bodies of water, specifically oceans. And so I love it. I love the beach. Now, my wife is fine with the beach. She doesn't like going in the water as much. I don't think she likes especially water where you can't see the bottom. I think it makes her uncomfortable. She's, concerned about sharks and things along those lines. Whereas I don't really have those fears, thankfully, knock on wood. I adore the beach. And so it's nice living here, being able to be in proximity to a beach again. That was one of the things that bummed me out about living in the Midwest, was not being close to a beach. And so I've really been enjoying it. I need to take advantage of it a little bit more than I have been, but I do try to get to the beach as often as I can. There you go. No hostility for me. That's a Z Garcia move. Nick Markley. Mike, are you still playing Retro Bowl? Ever since you mentioned it on that other podcast, I have been obsessed. Yes, I have a podcast with Dan Hughes. He gets on me because I don't shamelessly plug it enough here on the Dice Tower. It's called Sporadically Bored. It is a part of the Dice Tower Network, at least until Tom ever listens to it. Yes, I am still playing Retro Bowl. Retro Bowl, for those of you that don't know, is an app, a game on my phone. It's free, the best types of apps, and it's based off of American football. It gives you very much a kind of a Tecmo Bowl type of feel. It's obviously supposed to do that. It's a blast. I really enjoy it, and I'm obsessed with it as well, Nick. I totally get it. Obsessed. Adrian asks, where are the specs? Here they are. There's the old man. They're the old man readers. I never had to wear glasses my whole life. I never wore glasses. That was like my genetic lottery that I hit there. Was everybody in my family needed glasses except for me. I had 20/20 vision my whole life. And then in the mid 40s, I started to notice, man, hold up a medicine bottle. I can't read this. And now it's bad. With up close stuff, it's really bad. Like across the room, I could read just fine still, and I don't need them to drive or anything like that. But reading up close, not good. Mike, Amelia asks, what are 3 of your favorite bands or musical artists? Looking for some Friday tunes. Well, it depends on your taste, Amelia. I tend to like more kind of aggressive, louder music. It's what I kind of grew up with. I kind of grew up with that kind of punk background in my childhood days, and so I still kind of lean towards that. You know, in the 90s, I was definitely a fan of the alternative kind of grunge aspect of things, at least until it got corporatized and ruined. But my 3 favorite bands, this one is even tougher than listing the 3 favorite three favorite game designers. But I'll just kind of come with stuff that comes off the top of my head, although I'm really wanting to look at my phone and look at my music app because I'm afraid I'm going to miss. My favorite group is probably Killing Joke. They're kind of an industrial post-punk band. I absolutely adore Killing Joke. Pandemonium is my favorite album by them. I really think that Bob Mould, he's an artist that was in Husker Du back in the 80s, a punk band, but then he went on to do another band called Sugar, which put out 2 albums that are, the first album called Copper Blue is as close to perfect as an album gets for me. Every single song on there, from front to back, I think is fantastic. So Bob Mould, Sugar, Killing Joke. Now I'm going to look at my phone. Going to look at my phone because I can't do it. I just can't. So many good groups. I love the Pixies, Black Francis, Frank Black. The Damned. I love the Damned. Too many. There's just too many. Too many groups I love. I'll stick with that. I'd be here all day. All right. Lots of old, lots of old. Alistair Smith. Mike, if there was a game about your life, what mechanics would it have? 2, push your luck, player elimination. All right. Oh my goodness, I'm so far back. Jeff, I love this question. What would you name a boat if you had one? First of all, let me use this opportunity to say that I am not, as much as I love the water, I'm not a huge boating person. I don't hate boats. I just find them to be so much work that I don't know that the benefit is enough for me. I've never really had any interest in owning a boat. I've been on boats, obviously, and have enjoyed. Boats are things I like to visit. but I don't necessarily want to own one. If you could name a boat, what would you? I think I would name it a personal affront. That's what I would name it. It's one of my phrases that people here at the office have been enjoying. I'll name my boat a personal affront. David M. Since joining the Dice Tower, what is the one thing that has surprised you the most? Was there anything you were or weren't expecting about the Dice Tower that you were most surprised by? It's tough because I think what has surprised me the most is just something that you couldn't expect, and that is the tight-knit camaraderie among the people that work here. I think in a situation like this, where you're doing something creative, I think that builds a certain camaraderie. And that's why I think that maybe there's some, comparable, even to, as odd as this might sound, maybe even like being on a sports team where you are working towards a common goal. And maybe it's not creative, but you're all kind of working towards something together and you feel invested, personally invested in the outcome and the output. And so I think what has surprised me the most is just how much like a kind of like a family it feels, how tight-knit of a group we are, how much you have to trust the people around you. You have to be kind of open and vulnerable to some extent, because you're putting yourself out there. Every time that you go in front of a camera, you're putting yourself out there a little bit. And I will tell you that I take great comfort in being around other people that I trust and that I know are going to try to make me look the best that I can, are going to try to, if I'm stumbling over something or if I'm struggling with something, they're going to pick up that slack, they're going to catch it, they're going to help out on that, and I hope that I do the same for all of them. So I think that's the thing that surprised me the most, is just how tight-knit of a small group and kind of that feeling of all working towards something. And on something like a spectacular, and these spectaculars, to some extent at least, they started almost as an adjunct to conventions. Like, we weren't having conventions, so we're going to do these spectaculars. There's a similar feeling at the conventions where you're all having this intense amount of work to kind of pull something off. And you feel this sense of satisfaction if you can do it well. And so after the Summer Spectacular or any of the spectaculars, I kind of feel that sense of camaraderie more than I even do on a normal basis, which is quite a bit. I almost banned somebody again. All right. If I ban somebody, please don't take it personally. I'm trying. Richard Roy said you'd be interested in a Howard the Duck Marvel Champions pack. Is this true? Absolutely. I would be more likely to play that than any other character, probably. I have played Marvel Champions. It's fine, but it's just, I'm not big on LCGs. I'm not big on CCGs. It's just not my favorite type of game, although I understand the appeal. But yeah, I would play Howard the Duck for sure. Oh man, I'm so far behind. I feel awful. James Cartwright, question. Have you played Hadrian's Wall solo yet? Why, yes, James, I have. As a matter of fact, if you search the Dice Tower YouTube channel, you can find my Hadrian's Wall solo review. Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's now my favorite verb and verb game. Flip and right, I guess in this case, would be the two verbs to fill that Mad Libs out. Yeah, I love it. It's right behind probably Fleet Dice, although there are some others that have been coming out here that I'm pretty excited about too. I actually like this Drawn to Adventure game a fair amount, more than Tom did. But I haven't played that as much. Hadrian's Wall is fantastic. I like it a lot. Enough of this Chris guy. Talk about Z some more. No. We've got Chris Yee regenerating. I don't know what's happening here. I'm scrolling. Yes, indeed, I'm scrolling. I'm scrolling. And we've got a lot of silliness. All right, well, at least I'm going to be getting closer down to the... Chris Yee says, I agree with Mike's premise. There are at least 4 good game designers. Yes, at least. Chris is a big fan of Dr. Reiner Knizia as well, particularly whale riders. Let me tell you, when I taught Chris whale riders, I'm struggling to think of an adjective to describe the look on his face as we were playing it. I could go with disgusted. I mean, that pops to mind, but I don't know if that was completely accurate. He was not a fan, shall we say. Not a fan. Vanessa Armstrong asks, what games does your wife like to play with you? So, yes, she's got her favorites that we like to play together. We like Blue Moon City a lot. We like Yggdrasil. We like Pandemic, Lords of Waterdeep, Cottage Garden, Cleopatra and the Society of Architects. I think those are kind of like the favorites that come to mind there. Angela says, kitty update, please. I'm always careful with these because I know that there are at least as many people in these chats who do not care about cats as those who do, so I'll keep it very brief. Pip and Raven are lovely. Raven is now pretty much, I think, fully recovered from her surgery, from eating some random thing in the house that we still don't know what it is, that sent her to the emergency ER. But now she's doing much better. I'm sure probably searching through the house for other things to eat that will cost thousands and thousands of dollars to rectify. Come by around 11 p.m. and we'll play Oath. You're on. No. Mm-hmm. Clara asks, how come Reiner Knizia always gets his title included? Do I need to start demanding mine too? That's a good question, Clara. Very good question. Huh. You should. You should demand your title. You earned it. I assume. All right, let's take a look. Ooh, Gator Dave coming with a sports question. I think that I'm probably, they asked Z on his Q&A about sports, and he's not a huge sports fan. I think I'm the only one in the office who's a sports fan. I like many types of sports. I like most sports, actually. I was actually very excited recently, and I feel bad about this because I have so many friends from the UK, especially through my podcasting with Dan and other people from the UK who are nice, unlike Dan. So many people that were pulling for England in the European Championship, the soccer championships, but come on, Italy. I was thrilled to see Italy win. Okay, the question is, number of expected wins for the Dolphins this year. Oh, this is tough, man. Fins, hashtag fins up, indeed. I'm going to say 10. I hope they get there. I don't know. I'm always so cautious. I want them to, of course, win the Super Bowl, but I don't know that they're quite there yet. I think that they're still maybe a year or two removed, although I'd love to be wrong. 10 wins, I think, would get them in the playoffs. I think Buffalo is still going to win the AFC East. All right, enough sports talk. I'm sure I'm driving most people crazy. Sean says, proposal for new Dice Tower segment. DiLisio's Delightful Distractions. I like that. That's called alliteration. I do like alliteration. The people demand more on-air time for Mike. Well, look, who am I to not give the people what they want? That's a good question, or a good proposal, Sean. I appreciate that, and I'll run it up the chain of command. I will make sure to stuff the suggestion box to the brim with this. But before that, there's already been a proposal for this DiLisio Factor show that came up. I don't even remember how this came up, probably on a, I don't know, daily chat or something back in the day. I do have something in mind. I honestly do. I have something in mind for the DiLisio Factor show. It's still in the percolation phase. I'm still percolating, but I've got some ideas, and that may turn into something. Who knows? This is an interesting question. Any examples of things teachers or parents said would be really important when you grew up, but it turns out it hasn't been? Man, I like this question. I just wish I had a good answer. I'm sure there are. Maybe writing in cursive? I don't know. Nobody writes anymore, like physically writes. I know that my handwriting skills are atrocious now. I actually used to pride myself in my penmanship. And now I try to write anything beyond a sentence or two, and I'm like, who is this guy? I mean, this is like chicken scratch. It's awful. But I don't know. Yeah, it's a great question. I just don't have a great answer for it. Rainier asks a question that everybody has been asking. Who is this Mike DiLisio guy? I don't know. He's a mystery. He's a riddle, wrapped in an enigma. I don't know. Amelia. Moving into my own apartment this fall and planning on playing more solo games as a result. Any advice for a budding solo player? Let's see, advice. I'm trying to think back to my days where I first started playing solo games, and I kind of went in a backwards situation where I started playing solo games mostly because I already had a bunch of games on my shelf that weren't getting played as much as I wanted to, that I just happened to realize had a solo variant. I'm like, oh, let me give this a shot. And I found that I really enjoyed it. So maybe that would be my advice. Is start with games that you already have that have a solo variant that you haven't tried yet. Find out what types of solo games work best for you. Do you like the ones that are kind of the puzzly ones? Do you like the ones where you're kind of trying to have a high score type of a thing? Do you like playing against an automated opponent? Those types of things. And then once you kind of find out what your tastes are, then you can find games that fit those niches, I would say. But my number one piece of advice would be start with games you already have that maybe have a solo mode that you haven't tried yet, because that's how I got into it. Ooh. Richard asks, any more flying bug incidents in the shower? Thankfully, no. No more palmetto bugs for me. Question, you have lots of nicknames. Which is your fave? E.g., Mikey D, The Game Guru, DiLisio Solo, etc. Now, first of all, I'm not sure I was familiar with these nicknames. Are these nicknames going on without my knowledge or approval or consent? Perhaps. I think Mikey D might be coming from one Chris Yee, and I refuse to acknowledge. No, I've never been a Mikey. Even when I was a kid, I was never a Mikey. So that one just doesn't, I don't mind it, but it does not resonate with me at all. The Game Guru? Am I? Oh, okay, sure. I'll take that one, especially if there are, I don't know, scepters. What would a guru have? No, gurus don't have scepters. Kings have scepters. What do gurus have? I don't know. Fancy draperies? Do gurus have fancy draperies? Maybe that. DiLisio solo? I don't know if I've heard that one before. I don't know. I'm not sure. They're all fantastic. If someone were to make a movie about the Dice Tower, what famous actor would you want to play you? I think this was something that came up recently. Like, I think someone even did a thread about it on the Dice Tower forum on BGG, and they chose. Who did they choose? They chose an actor, I think, that used to be on The West Wing. I don't know the actor's name. The one that I kind of that sticks to me a little bit, and this was I keep coming back to the podcast, but somehow it came up in the podcast. I think that I look like oh no, now I can't think of his name. LaPaglia, Anthony LaPaglia. He was Mike Myers' friend in So I Married an Axe Murderer, amongst many other shows. I think that there's more than a passing resemblance with Anthony LaPaglia. I'd go with that. And like Z did, I'll just leave that up there. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. Do I just jump forward? I'm gonna. All right, I was gonna jump forward, but I am gonna hit this one. Rainer asks, licorice with pepper flavor or with salt flavor? Nope. Nope. To me, licorice is red vines or Twizzlers. That's licorice to me. I understand that that is not proper licorice, but proper licorice in my mind tastes like proper trash, red vines, Twizzlers. That's my licorice. And it should have no pepper nor salt within spitting distance. All right, okay, I'm jumping forward, scrolling wildly all the way to the end. What do we got? Let's get to some of these newer questions. All right, here we go. Yes, Richard Schiff was the name. Yeah, grumpy old man from West Wing. Look, I am sure he's a fine actor. I don't know. Here we go. Let's see if I can find some here towards the bottom. Uh-oh. Got nicknames. It's just Chris. Hey, Mike, my kids are eating their lunch and watching you live. Can you say hi to them? Hello, children. Enjoy your lunch. You know, to me, nothing says a delicious lunch like salty licorice. Them's good eats. Will you be reviewing the solo mode of John Company 2nd Edition? Man, maybe. I haven't played the 1st edition of John Company. We don't have a copy of the 2nd edition. I know that it was fulfilling to Kickstarter backers, or at least I think it was. I'd definitely be interested in checking it out. I am impressed with Cole Worley as a designer, even though some of his designs make my head explode, and by some I mean all. But yeah, I would be interested in taking a look at it. If one comes through the studios, I'll definitely take a look at it and would be happy to give it a shot. You know, I've played the solo mode of PAX Premier 2nd Edition, the Wakan, and enjoyed that. Have not played the Oath, as I mentioned. I don't know if that one, I don't know. I mean, I may try it at some point, I just haven't yet. Oh, we're getting close to being out of time. See if I can find any more. GS24, do you recommend Cthulhu, Death May Die? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. That is one of those games that has grown in my estimation since first playing it. I liked it the first time I played it. I like it even more now. It's a game that I went back and I got like more stuff. I got, the season 2 expansion. I was able to get a copy of the Unspeakable box today, right now, at my home, not here, at my home, away from me. I can't see it, I can't touch it, I can't smell it. Are the extra characters that just got fulfilled with the comics for the Death May Die Kickstarter campaign. And so that just fulfilled to me today. And so I'm looking forward to going home and looking at those new characters and taking pictures of them all and sending texts to Z Garcia because he's not getting his until tomorrow. Sucker! But yeah, I'll recommend it. I like it. Oh, 201. It's 201. I'll end with this. Mike, do you play any instrument? If so, which? If not, which one do you think would enjoy the rest of the Dice Tower crew the most? I don't. And this is one of those things, Rainer, where if in my golden years, as I'm heading into, if there's one thing that I would like to do beyond traveling, it would be learning an instrument, and I would probably like to learn to play guitar. It's something that I've toyed with the idea. Well, what I'd really like to do is learn to play drums, but that's so difficult, to do because they're loud. And even if you get the kind of the electronic drums, they take up a lot of space. I don't know. And I feel like they would be very annoying, although I would love to play the drums. So I don't. Chris Yee plays many instruments. I know Roy plays guitar and probably bass. I think they're the only two that play instruments, but I would love to. Which one would annoy the Dice Tower crew the most? I don't know. If you consider my voice an instrument and my thousands of adoring fans that have bought my many, many albums think of it as an instrument, that might be the one that annoys them the most. But anyway, no, I'd love to play an instrument. All right, well, Dice Tower chat. It's been lovely again. I'm sorry to the many questions that I couldn't get to. I tried, and it's overwhelming because we have the best live chat in the game, and you always are there, and you're always asking so many great questions. I want to answer them all, but I can't. However, the Q&A day is not done. Oh no! In less than 1 hour, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, one Mr. Chris Yee will be here to answer your questions and to make very bad jokes. You can count on it. So come back for that. Thank you all so much for being such a fantastic chat. I always have a blast doing these live Q&As. And on that note, goodbye.